Roman Griffen here with this week's review of The Monsters of Templeton by Lauren Groff. 361 pages long. The Monsters of Templeton is not about an all-nun basketball team. I don't know why I thought of that. It sounded funny to me. Now, all right, believe it, you're not going to believe this, but she's a very good writer. Excellent storyteller. I would check this book out if I were you. Now, don't be confused. It's listed in the horror genre, probably. It's like kind of like it's like more of a cute little ghost story thing. It's not really scary. It's not going to give you bad dreams. There's a 50-foot sea monster in it that's found dead floating in the lake, but it's not really. The story more revolves around Willie Upton, who's actually a woman. One of my pet peeves. They call her name's Wilhelmina, but they do call her Willie. And you know how I hate when they have these gender bender names. Like the kid in that one book whose name was Alicia or Elisha. I don't know what it was, but that's just my personal opinion. But here on page 3, and this is another. That's not a pet peeve of mine, but I always find it funny. And a lot of authors do this. I guess it's an attempt to be literary, or I can't think of the word. I found my feet crossing the street, heading up the driveway, passing through the garage doorway. Now, if you ever find your feet doing this without you, like it states here, there are medications that you can take to keep your feet on your legs, and they won't be so unruly. They won't just wander around without you knowing it, or without your permission for that matter. I already talked about the name. I lost my place. Oh, here's a good one. This is good. I don't know. This is a quote from the book. There was her own smell, something bird-like, like warm, dusty wings. How do you know what a bird smells like, for one? Warm, dusty wings? And she's describing, I think it's her mother she's describing, but my God, I mean, does this not make your heart go pitter-patter? Who doesn't? Women want this woman now. Who wouldn't? I would sell my left leg to go to Tahiti with a woman who smelled like warm, dusty wings. Whew. That's why you can't see me from the waist down, because I get excited about this kind of stuff. Here's another good one. These names in this book are they're very soap opera-ish. I should have been under the aegis of Dr. Primus Dwyer, Ph.D., Barton P. Thrasher, Professor in Sciences. Now, I know that there's books out there that claim that the names you choose for your book are important, they mean a lot, and I don't know. I just find these a little bit goofy names. I mean, Primus Dwyer, Barton Thrasher, I understand that it has to do with characterization and storyline, but, you know. Well, here she says, I should have been under the aegis of Primus Dwyer. Over here on page 5, she's telling her mother, this is Willie Upton telling her mother, it looks like I'm pregnant, and it's maybe Dr. Primus Dwyer's. So over here she says she should have been under his aegis. On page 5 she thinks that he got her pregnant, which means his aegis was, she was more than just under it. Wasn't. That was something. You don't just get pregnant kissing in a wet bathing suit. We've got aegises involved with this. All right. There's really not much. I can't really say too much about the story, but it is good. She's a great storyteller. And you get up to about, I got up to page 67, which is my new record, for those of you who have been keeping track. And you get to about page 46, and then she does lapse into like maybe a 20-page backstory, but she writes well enough to where it's not that distracting and it's not that boring, and it of course it halts the story, but she's talented enough to be able to pull that off. So I don't think that's a problem. The 50-foot sea monster I mentioned before, and I'm making this up because I know a lot of people probably think I'm kidding around, but the 50-foot sea monster, it's found floating in a lake, and I just think that there's a certain, if you're going to write something about that, there's a certain nonchalance attached to it, meaning like there should be probably a lot more hoopla involved in a 50-foot sea monster found floating dead in the lake, but there's not. I mean, I know that the story isn't about the sea monster per se, and I'm quite sure that the sea monster is symbolic, but it just seems to be more of a, if add a little more about the sea monster, I just thought there was a little bit of nonchalance in finding such a creature, because as we know, it doesn't happen every day. At least not where I live anyway. Maybe where you live. I don't know. I don't want to know where you live if that's the case. Anyhow, for the point of view purists, the book is written, I call them the POVPs, point of view purists. The book is written in the first person, and it's told by Willie Upton. She's the narrator, but she knows a little too much about everything in order for it to be a true first-person narrative. It really, she just knows too much. It's not definitive as a first-person narrative. So for the purists out there, for the point of view, you're not going to like that fact. But once again, she's a fantastic writer, and you're not confused by anything. There are a couple, she trips up a few times, and I, I don't want to make my videos too long. You can catch it online on the written version, but she's a great writer. This is her first book, and she's a very talented writer. But I keep saying it because I am impressed by it. She's a great storyteller, and they're far from a dime a dozen. In fact, there aren't many around at all. And it seems that it does seem that the great storytellers tend to go towards that horror genre, if you notice. For instance, Dean Koontz is a great writer. Stephen King, probably the best. Because I think in order to be in the horror genre, you do have to be a great storyteller, and they can get it done. I wish Stephen King would write more regular books, and I hope Lauren Groff gets it in her head. I hope she's watching to write. I think this book could have survived without the monster and without the minor ghost interaction. I think it could have been a great story. I mean, you may have had to step it up, but the story it may drag. But there's enough story there. There's enough quirkiness, and there's enough to keep your interest, and the way she tells it is a good thing. So honestly, I don't think you'll be sorry if you were to check this book out. And if you do check it out and you don't agree with me, then we're not on the same page, and then from now on, just don't listen to a word I say. Like pretty much everybody else.